Hi everybody. Okay, this is your girl Ayana. I literally have been going back and forth about whether or not I wanted to blog or share what I'm about to share. I was thinking I'm recording this video, but to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not sure if I will post it, but I'm leaning more towards I will, because I'm a pretty transparent, open person. But sharing this on my social media platform, I'm still quite like, man, do I just want to go there? But I'm feeling a little bit like, why not? I've been looking and viewing other people's posts as they go through things, whether it is, their fight and bout with cancer, mental health illness, and things like that. And it's a blessing where people who are going through something similar, they're feeling encouraged that they're not alone. And as a believer, the enemy wants anybody to think that, what you're going through, you're by yourself. And you're not. God knows, sees, and cares. So even as I'm talking now, and this is probably going to be really long, so I'm going to have to upload it to YouTube and then share it. I'm leaning more towards, just this may be and help others. Okay, so what am I talking about, right? You got to excuse me. My hair is all over the place. So let's kind of go back to 2019. You guys know that well, not you guys, maybe my circle, my village. If you know me, you know that there are some things that, I desire. Husband at some point, and then a child at some point as well. And in that order, and that's just mainly for me wanting to break generational curses. I always tell people that I want my daughter to know what love is like from a man for how her dad loves me. Or I want my son to know how to love a woman for how his dad loves me. So in that order. And I tip my hat to all single mothers, single fathers, or parents, because it is not easy. But I also say the ground is level at the cross, because it shoulda, coulda, woulda been me. But one attribute of God that I always say, yes, I know him to be a provider. Yes, I know him to be a healer. Yes, I know him to be a company keeper, an advocate. But if there is one attribute that Ayana Lakia Pearson know God to be, and that's to be sovereign. He knows all, sees all, and his timing is just God, so God and his sovereignty. So I always say that. I'm going to probably go off on a whole bunch of tangents, but y'all know it's the details. So let's go back to 2019. 2019, I remember going to the doctor and, to do all the women checkups and all those types of things. And at the time, this was the early part of 2019, and so I was 38 at the time. Would have been 39 that July. Turned 39 that July. And I remember asking my doctor about my fertility. At the time, at the top of 2019, I was in a relationship, and I wanted to know, like, what were my options, and things of like that with, in terms of fertility. At the time, she shared that, all systems go, you're great, yes, you're 38, but when you make the decision, to want to, start preparing to conceive, to have a baby, just for lack of better words, just have lots of sex, you should be fine. So that was the top of 2019. That relationship ended, and so there was none of that. fast forward to me being out to dinner with one of my girls. She know who she is, my run partner, shoulder to shoulder. She said, Ayana, you need to look into freezing your eggs, because what I don't want is for when God sends you your husband and you want to have a baby, I don't want you to not have that as an option. Freeze your eggs, Way. She told me just like that. And I was like, okay. At this point, I was going through some physical therapy with my foot, with running, and I was getting tired of my current doctor and the hospital, you know, like with my insurance. I knew that if I wanted to go through this process, I wanted to change to Mother Northwestern. Just better care, in my opinion, and just I knew that I wanted to be at a place where I'm really, I have a Black orthodontist, I have a Black therapist, I have a Black oh my God, Dr. April, what is she? Black chiropractor. All of the things that I do in terms of my health are Black women. It's really important. You know, I'm 365 Black and all woman, okay? And so with me knowing that I wanted to switch, it was very important for me to have a Black woman. So I had that conversation with my run partner, my girl, and she was like, yo, I want you to look into doing that. And I wasn't currently happy with all the rigmarole and just all the referrals that were needed just for my foot. So I was like, look, if I'm going to look into this, I want to be under the care of a Black woman. And I wanted to be in what I perceive and is now a better facility, better Northwestern is just, in my opinion, they're good. So so I switched. When my job opened up open enrollment, I'm like, I asked one of my friends at work, was like, yo, who's your doctor? And she told me her doctor, and I asked some other people, and because I wanted a Black woman. So this was during the heart of the pandemic, and we know I made no appointments for the only appointment that I did in 2020, obviously as 40 at this point, was my mammogram. You know, you 40, you got to get your tatas, make sure all things are great. So I did do that appointment. So Circle Day 2021, world semi-open, well, just in the sense of, you know, felt a little bit comfortable going to the doctor out, you know, to take care of things. So September 2021, I do all my normal yearly checkups, you know, in terms of a woman, you know, make sure everything is everything. And I expressed to my new doctor that, you know, hey, I am now 41. This was in September. I want to look into the potential of freezing my eggs. I realized that I'm 41, and, you know, by man or the world's view, that is, you know, older than normal when most people start families and have children and the like. So initially she ran some tests. And I remember when those tests, they came back, it was a few of them to check my levels and, you know, check things to see how, you know, like what's going on, you know, when it comes to, you know, eggs, you know, my fertility, all those things. So the initial test, while it wasn't, I didn't like the results. In fact, the results were, they were, I won't say gut-wrenching, but it took the wind out of me. And I remember getting the results. I'm at work, and I'll never forget, I'm at work. I got them around third period, which is, I don't teach during third period. And y'all see my little, I got my little handkerchief. My little Candace handkerchief, but I think I could get through this initial video, which may end up being long, because it's just like all the things. But no, I think I can get through it without tears. Let's hope. But I got my Candace handkerchief. So anyway, I remember getting the results, and I fell completely apart at my desk. And shout out to my friends at work. They know who they are, who just like, yo, let me have my moment at the desk. I had to teach fourth period, so I'm like, sweet baby Jesus, I got through it. But because the results were, they weren't favorable. And when in my chart, the whole communication of how doctors communicate with you, she definitely said, given my numbers, that, hey, if you want to freeze your eggs, you need to go ahead and hop on this fast because you're 41 and these numbers are not looking really favorable for you. So she gave me the number. I called, to start the process. So I called. And at this point, they made an appointment. But y'all, guess when my initial appointment was going to be? May 2022. And this was in this was in September of 2021. And I couldn't get an appointment until May 2022. So not having favorable results, and the first appointment of many, because there have been many, was not going to be in 2022. Hear me when I say I was like a mess. I was a mess. The lady whoever was making the appointment, she said, hey, you can continuously call back to possibly see if there is a cancellation. But fertility and all those things, I am one of millions who goes through this process, and so it's not every day that you're going to get a cancellation. So she was like, but you can continue to call. I remember that this was on like a Wednesday. So I called that, or maybe it was a Tuesday, because I remember I called that Tuesday, I called that Wednesday, no cancellation. I didn't call that Thursday because I was just like, whatever. Friday is a short day for me at work, and so I called. And guess what? To God be the glory. The initial appointment that I needed, there was an opening. So I hopped on it. It was telehealth. So it was great. Made the appointment. She was like, I can do this. I'm like, yep. So made the appointment, talked to a nurse practitioner. I could not, you all, get through that appointment without crying. Oh my God. I found a room at my job to do the telehealth appointment, and I could not get through it. It was hard for me to articulate my desire to be a mom, but ultimately, my desire to have a husband, and, wanting a family and wanting this process, because, of course, people ask, okay, do you want to freeze your eggs and get donor sperm, or, and all those things. I'm like, no, that's not my hope and my dream. That's the case. Could have been did that, but that's not what I want. And so, yeah, so anyway, we are going through all the, she's, doing the initial telehealth consult. A few days later, she's basically explaining to me what the process will be. And I read her notes. And in the notes, she's just basically recapping what her and I talked about. But what stood out to me was that she said she spent most of the appointment, consoling the patient and things like that, and giving me hope. She explained to me my initial numbers and what needed to do. And she gave me another appointment. This was October, of what I needed to do. So I went in October. And if you also kind of follow me on Facebook and see my little stories about needles, you know that I have small roller veins and I don't like needles. Oh my God, I have to go to a special mental place to even get blood work drawn. So she told me what I needed to do for my October appointment. They ran more tests. So that means when you run tests, you get poked, you're prodded, all those types of things. And so I shared what I was doing with what I call my village and even my inner circle, my people. So I had that appointment in October. And in October, they ran more tests to get a more concrete, I don't want to say second opinion, but just more in-depth test about, my FSH levels, my AMH levels, all the things that, pertains to a woman and her fertility. And those results were more promising. Now, yes, one can say, the tests were a little bit, more accurate, but I believe it was the prayers of a praying grandmother, but not, my grandparents are not alive, but maybe it was just the prayers of my village, and my inner circle and my friends. And so where my initial AMH level was at one number, which was, like I said, daunting and just really like, oh my God, when they ran it again and I was able to, look at the numbers again, they were able to just do a more accurate. My AMH level was actually above average than a woman who's 41 years old. So I was like, whew, because it's one thing to want to be a mom, and then your body is not necessarily in line with that desire, right? And so these results that I got in October were a lot more promising, but definitely still in the line of like, hey, if you're doing this, you need to do this, okay? So that was like in October. So I've had since then a lot of appointments, because a lot of things as I move along this process, because if you haven't deduced by now, which I'm sure you have, I am going through the process of freezing my eggs at 41 years old. And it needs to happen before I'm 42. Because yes, women can have babies, of course, after 42. Shout out to the women who have them at 48, 49, and 50. But freezing your eggs, right, is something that you need to do, obviously, while you're in the prime of your life. Though it's not to say that I'm not in my prime of your fertility, I should say. And typically you cannot and you should not freeze your eggs past 42. So hence the reason when that initial appointment was like May 2022, I'm like, yo, Sway, I don't even have 2 more months before I turn 42. But if you know me, you also know that I'm persistent, and I'm like, so that's needless to say, I am freezing my eggs. I'm going through the emotional journey. So fast forward to a lot more appointments, a lot more prodding, a lot more like explaining what the process will look like and the cost, because this is an elective surgery. So yes, I have that good insurance that covers a good bit of it, but there is still an out-of-pocket cost, to this process. It is not cheap, but if I can travel the world and run and book flights, register for races, book hotels, book car rentals for my Run by 50, rehab kitchens, rehab bathrooms, do work in my condo, then surely I can pay for fertility in terms of freezing my eggs. It is, I am not rich, but God has blessed me, and hey, we're going to do what we're going to do. So that's where I'm at. And if you grew up in the 80s or in the 80s and 90s, if you're black, don't say if you're black, because I'm sure white people watch the Cosby Show. Keisha Knight Pulliam, and her, as Rudy. But I also know that she hates being called Rudy, so I'm gonna call her by her government name and who she really is, Keisha Knight Pulliam. She's doing a special. It's about to come on and say, my watch, it's showing me an email. Hold on, 12 minutes. So I got my DVR set for it. And she's talking about her journey and that she is freezing or has frozen her eggs at 41, ironically, though she has a child and is just recently married and wants to have more children. But I can't wait to watch this documentary as she goes through this process and she shares. I don't know what it's about, but I know I'm tapped in. And that was probably seeing the commercials and the advertisement for this documentary definitely put me in the mind of wanting to record this video because I really want to share my story. I'm not Keisha Napoleon. I am Ayana Pearson, who's 41, who is freezing her eggs because I do want to be a mom. At some point, I am still believing God that I will be. And see, I'm kind of getting a little bit, I'm gonna reel the tears back, see if I can get through this. I still am believing God that is that. I have a beautiful minty child who you all know that I love with my whole heart. Shout out to her and her thoughtful gift. I'm going to end with this. So she, of course, knows that Mama Yana, as she calls me, am going through this journey. So for Christmas, y'all, when I tell you that for Christmas, she brought me, it's a series, and I'm going to just do this. I don't know if you can see my watch, but it's a bracelet, and it has heartbeats on it. And then it's a necklace. It's the same. She brought me some socks. I'm not going to wear the socks until the day that they come in and retrieve my eggs when I have to go to the hospital. And she brought me this journal that she wants me, and I will be journaling because she knows I'm a writer, and I have 11 million journals of this process. And I'm going to share it because if you know I want to be a mom. I'm a mother's child in the sense that ideally I do have the name of the daughter. If God blesses me with a girl, what I want to name her. And I even have one for a guy. But all of this is, obviously got to be cleared by the husband, wherever he is. But the whole purpose is this is a faith walk. As I sit, and even as this video is like 22 minutes long now, like I said, I've been going back and forth and just in my thoughts about how open to be. But I know I'm not the only 40-something-year-old woman who is still believing God for a family, who is still believing God to be a mom. And so I'm going to share. There they go. Okay. I think I'm going to blog about this from the moment I did. So I have an appointment, and I know I'm going back all over the place, but this journey for me starts February with a lot of hormone shots that I will be taking for 10 to 12 days. And on the 10th day or on the 12th day, you take what's called your trigger shot, which is, the shot that tells your body. And then once you go in, they retrieve the eggs. So during this process, probably be even more emotional than I already am. But I'm going to share it because I believe God. I know that I will be a mom because God can do it, and I want to be a mom, but I want to be in God's will, of course, too. So, and if you know me, I write down everything. I want you all to see the process, going back from like my initial appointments, like all my notes, right? About like, what does this entail? Like answering, these were my initial notes about like the process, the cost, the storage. I have to answer questions like, okay, so you're gonna do this, like, so like in an offset, heaven forbid, God calls me home, what do I want to happen to my eggs? Do I want to give them to a family member? Do I want them to discard them? Or do I want them to just be used for research? I opted for research. I don't really have a family member that I want to give my eggs to, and that's just because I don't have many females in my family, and if they are, they are cooking with gas. They can be fertile on their own. Something about discarding them just didn't sit well with me either. So I am opting to just have them used for research for perhaps other 40 plus women, black women who, who are going through this process and they want to look into. But it is a very, I am an educator. I don't read everything known to this process about what this entails, all the prescriptions and stuff that I will be taking, the shots. I need to wrap my head around giving myself a shot, though I don't think I will. She don't know it yet, but actually she knows about this process. But if you know me, you know about one of my goddaughter's mother who the faith, and if you know me, you know her and how the story of her and her husband and how they came to have their beautiful daughter. And so if anything, I'm gonna care myself to a few more exits to her home and have her give me these shots. She know who I'm talking about. Noel, or maybe to Dalton, to godson's mother, who Robbie, who has like I remember when we were at one of our regional conferences with Zeta, and Robbie, her hand, she has a very like soft hand, and she was able to do that. Anyway, so needless to say, I have a village of support who have offered and is willing to help give me these shots, because ain't nobody else in this house. Danae is in Texas, so until I can wrap my head around the anxiety of giving it myself, or if I just can't, for 12 days, I'm going to be at Noel's house. I mean, I was there when he was rehabbing my bathroom. So, no, if you're watching this and you watch this, just know, no, just know, no, I'm just playing. No, that I will need you. And I'm going to need all of you all, as this is going to be an emotional journey. My doctor did assure me that it's okay to cry. She was like, I will look at you like you're crazy if you didn't cry. So don't get all caught up in the nurse practitioner's notes that this is an emotional journey. She has ensured that she is going to, in her words, throw the kitchen sink at me in the sense of like, look, you may have to do this a few times. I am afforded 4 times to get as many eggs as I can. For a woman, naturally, the goal is to do 10 to 12. When they looked at my numbers in October, I had 9. And so that's typical for a woman of my age. So the goal is obviously during this, that though they see 9 follicles, is that hopefully with, the hormones and everything, that those turn into 9 mature eggs that they could ultimately retrieve after 12 days. And so that's the goal. And so with that in mind, the end goal of 20, I want to have, I probably would have to do this 3 times. So that's where I'm at. So to any woman that is at this point, have the desires that I have, or want what I want, just know that God sees you. You're not by yourself. I am being incredibly transparent and vulnerable in sharing this journey. I think I'm going to continue to share it as I go through it. Right now, I don't have any upcoming appointments. It's kind of like pay your money, which that has been done. And I start in February. Oh, I'm going to say this last caveat. The other piece of this is, which makes it even more, is that while I'm doing this, I can't run. And you guys know I'm a runner. I travel. And so that was another reason why I'm like, okay, I got to be careful in what months I do this in. Thank God I'm not running a race in February. I am running one in March and one in April. Nothing in May. So I think we'll be starting round 2 in May because I have races. But if I have to put a few races on hold for this, I will. But yeah, that's what my journey is. So, Ajile, if you know me, you know that's my future daughter's name. I am starting the process to believe God for her, and that she will come. And Angie and Craig, Ajile is a girl's name. Sorry, inside joke. But anyway, this is my journey, okay? And now I'm about to go in and go watch Eggs Over Easy. Bye, you all.